Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
For those of you who heard this wonderful interview that we had done a few weeks ago with Alexander Dreyfoos, and we were reviewing his book, Passion and Purpose, it was such an exciting interview, I decided we had to continue. We just couldn't possibly get it into one interview. When you've lived as exciting a life as Alex has, and does so many things, it's just too hard to put it into 30 minutes. So here we are back. And Alex, I hear that you're in the Bahamas.
I am. How about this talent? My daughter was born on the same day as my birthday. So we celebrate our birthdays together, and she turned the big 6-0, and she wanted to spend it on our boat in the Bahamas, and so there we are.
What a nice thing to do. Oh, you see, that's the important part of your family. You have a beautiful professional life. You have a lovely family life, and you're really enjoying every day. And that's what most people strive for. So based on what I was just saying, I, of course, was wonderfully invited to the great new organ recital by, that over at the Kravis, and unfortunately I got ill, but tell us about it, please.
Well, for years I have thought that a performing arts center should have an organ. I grew up, spent 4 years at MIT and 2 at Harvard Business School with Boston Symphony Hall as my place to go for music. And any of you who have been there know that the facade is organ pipes all around the hall. And so I thought, if we're going to get a performing arts center built in West Palm Beach, we ought to have an organ facade, an organ and the pipes to the facade. Well, soon the desire grew from just a symphony hall to a multi-purpose hall, which meant that you couldn't have any one facade in the hall. The stage is much deeper, et cetera, et cetera. And so we compromised and thought we could have a smaller place for a pipe facade on each side of the stage, and that's what we built. And then we had some budgetary problems, and the whole idea of an organ got scrapped. Many years later, after my thinking, my partner was killed in a very unfortunate bicycle automobile accident, and he had always loved the organ. He was a mechanical designer, mechanical engineer, and used to fiddle around with an organ in his garage. And somehow I thought someday I would like to be able to relate as a memorial to him his love of organ. But we sort of set that aside until fairly recently, and I had made a significant gift to the Kravis Center many years ago, and I just finally decided upon hearing what wonderful advances had occurred in the area of digital organs that I went to the board and said, would you mind putting aside a small amount of what I had provided for a memorial organ for my friend George. And they agreed, and it took about 1.5 years for us to have built this extremely fine digital organ. Now, electronic organs got a bad name back in the 30s, and deservedly so, because they started out as just being vacuum tube sine wave oscillators, and they sort of sounded like tuning forks and not like pipe organs. This organ is totally different. This organ has a recording of each note from several dozen, well over 100 organs around the country, and even a few from outside of the United States, that when you press the note, you are listening to a replay of that particular pipe organ. And, of course, today recordings can be extremely accurate. And so a fellow by the name of Cameron Carpenter, who's now considered the world's finest organist, did the overall design of this organ, and he had been acclaimed in the New York Times and in other areas that made it very clear that he had now accomplished a full match to pipe organs, and therefore this concept of electronic organs are no good should disappear. And I have every hope that it will, and that was what we sort of set out to do. And we had the dedicating concert on March 9th. Cameron Carpenter played it together with the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra for the first half of the concert, and then the second half of the concert he played solo a variety of things from jazz to classical to Bach, and it was absolutely riveting in the way the crowd loved it, and he himself is extremely good in speaking as well as in playing, and just wowed the crowd with his knowledge and versatility.
Well, congratulations. It sounds like it was a dream for you, and it's a dream for the Palm Beach County population, actually for all of South Florida. Are we going to, so what will we be using it for? Will there be major orchestras coming down for that?
Well, yes, I hope so. I think it'll have a variety of uses. First of all, we set it up to have four immediate locations. One, it's stored below the main stage in its own room, and anybody who works something out with us can come and be in that little room and actually listen to it on earphones and practice to their heart's content. There is also a small room outside of that storage room, which is about a 20 by 40 foot room, that we could have small classes of organ enthusiasts, listen to and play the organ. Then the organ also can be moved to the Rinker Theater, which is my Alzheimer's gets to me here. I think it's about 300 seat theater, and there will be sound reproduction systems in there to hear it, or it can be in the main Kravis Center, where we have 96 loudspeaker audio system, which is capable of absolutely filling the hall, and well, just as effectively as the finest church organ can, or even the, back in the old days of silent movies, there were organs in many theaters which were
right.
often referred to as Wurlitzer type, and one of the finest is still in Philadelphia, I think, in Wanamaker's, which I think is owned by Macy's, and they give concerts there on a regular basis. And this organ has those type of notes also, so it can be played as a movie theater type of organ, as well as a classical orchestra hall organ, such as at Boston Symphony or several other major halls have organs, or it can also sound like a church organ.
Okay,
and so it does have great versatility.
My big question is, I know that they're doing Phantom at the Kravis, which is Bill and my favorite show. You think we'll get to use it for that?
Well, that would be neat. One of the, maybe I shouldn't use the word difficulties, but it's probably as good as any, is many of the road shows, which are really what often comes to the Kravis Center, are designed so that they can be sort of a package that plays no matter where they go. And I was interested, for example, in having other orchestras that tour, like the Berlin Symphony, or some of you may know, we had the Israeli Symphony Orchestra. We had the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra this year. When they do a road show, they typically pick a repertoire which they can play at each place they visit. And since not all halls have organs, certainly none of them have fine organs like ours, well, very few do, the likelihood of being able to do that, like, say, for the traveling Phantom, we'd have to explore that possibility. If they do have an organ playing, it's apt to be pre-recorded or, something like that. Or they might have a small organ that, comes in as part of their orchestra. But certainly if there's any opportunity, we're going to explore it. But I think for a while we're going to have to sort of produce our own shows in that area.
Okay, well...
But I do want to invite your audience, anybody who's an organ enthusiast, to be in touch with us and, see if we can't do some of these things. I would love to have a teacher come to us and say, would love to have a group come and work with and play with the organ and so forth. That to me would be very exciting.
Let's get Will Ray back.
It's going to be a growing process.
It will. Let's get Will Ray back just for one night or something. He would love it.
Yeah. Yes, he would. Well, and there'd be lots of people like that. Yeah.
Right. Well, I just want everyone to know I'm talking to Alex Dreyfoos. He's in Bahamas on the Silver Cloud, his wonderful ship, along with his gorgeous wife, Renati, and with his daughter celebrating her 60th birthday, correct?
That's correct. She was born on the same day as my birthday.
Well, that was... I don't know. You planned everything so well. I don't know how you did that, Alex. But anyway, I admire that. So, okay. So now you have, of course, explored the world on your ship. What do you have on your, what's your target for the next year or two? What do you want to do?
I wish I knew the total answer to that. I have to tell you that my bucket list itself is complete. As you've already mentioned, I published the book on my photography.
Yes.
I've then finished my circumnavigation, and that led me to be able to complete the biography. And so we're now down to kind of enjoying the boat without, having a very strong purpose. As you know, many boards decide that there's an age at 70, 75, or 80 when you probably don't need to be on the board anymore, so I've rotated off a number of those. The Kravis Center went and, when I was gone one year, they made me a board member for life, so I guess I'm involved with that, which, I spent 11 years getting it built and then chaired it for 15, so I thought that 26 years was enough. But,
no, it's never enough.
Well.
No. I think it's never enough. I mean, all the skill and all the experience that you have brought to everything you have done has been just so elaborate, and people know you, and yet you're a very humble person, which is so admirable. You just always seem to be there to help when you can. I was looking at all the pictures. This is a gorgeous book. If anybody really wants to know the life of Palm Beach County, more so than even Alex Dreyfoos, of Palm Beach County and what has happened here because of people like Alex. It's called Passion and Purpose. Passion and Purpose. You can buy it. If you go to the Kravis, they have it, or you can buy it on Amazon. My husband and I have just...
Well, I'm sorry.
You can't get it on Amazon
right now.
Oh.
The Kravis Center deservedly wants... not to have to share the revenue. And incidentally, I paid for all of the publication of the book, and so they get 100% of the revenue.
Oh, that's great.
It can be ordered online, kravis.org/books.
Okay.
And not only that, they have a two-for offer that includes the photographic book, and the proceeds there it's split. Kravis gets a little bit of it, but most of that goes to the Cultural Council, which Anita, I also started.
Yes, That's great. So you're still there. See, still giving, and that's so important. But it is a wonderful history. And so I do challenge people. It's well written also. And I know, Alex, you had someone help write this. And, of course, they had to know all about you in order to do that. And you shared that before. I know Elise Steinheimer and David Randall Allen. I guess it was David that did the writing and Elise did the photos, or how did that go?
No, actually, David started it. He had done an interview of me many years before for the Young Presidents Organization, and I thought that he did a nice job. And we started off, but it wasn't quite in the detail that I wanted. And then Lisa Steinhauer, who the Historical Society of West Palm Beach commissioned a oral history of me, and she did it, and I thought she really did a spectacular job. And so I asked her to take it on, and she really completed it, but I wanted to give Alan Brandy a byline,
sure,
because he did start it, and we used some of his work, but really Lisa deserves most of the credit.
Well, it certainly is. It's beautiful. And the photographs, are they yours? Who took the photographs?
Well, in the photographic book, a photographic odyssey, those are 100% mine, with 2 or 3 exceptions. Renate became interested in photography, and she would often take the pictures right next to me during, we've been together, married for the last 16 years, and so she often was stand and take a similar picture, and if hers was better, I put it in the book. So she's got 2 or 3 pictures in the book. But otherwise, they're all mine.
Okay, you should. You're very funny. Well, it's really been a great life for you, and I think that your effect on the county and things will always be felt. Even when people who haven't lived here, they always know that there are founders, and there are people who are they were just somewhere there flying high, and they cared enough. And we were very fortunate to have you, because, as you know, Palm Beach County, unfortunately, they have a lot of wealthy people, but they seem to give in their own hometown. But this apparently has been your hometown.
It has been. Well, I grew up in the New York City area, and I must say I had a feeling of I could pull for the system or push against the system. With a city that big, you couldn't have that much of an effect. I happened to come down to move my company to Florida in 1969, when we were very small, relatively speaking, a very small community. And people say, why was that timing important? I think 2 things. Air conditioners in cars were just starting to become prominent, and bug spray was finally becoming widespread, and bug control was becoming widespread. Many people don't realize that when Henry Flagler first opened Palm Beach, the Breakers Hotel was open, I think, from Washington's birthday to Lincoln's birthday, and that was it, because the bugs were just, horrendous.
I didn't know that.
And this wasn't a very attractive place to be, except during this small period of time. And what allowed Florida to grow and prosper, I think, really are those 2 things: bug control and air conditioning.
I can't even picture it without air conditioning.
My timing was good, and many people also give me credit for being just extremely generous. But one of the things I ended up with was Channel 12, as you know. I acquired it, and that's another story. I summed that up by saying, thank you, IRS. It was one of those things where it just made sense to do, and we can get into that at some point. But then owning the TV station, obviously anything I could do to help the community grow worked to the advantage of, the economics. So.
Right, and that really wasn't, you'd never had a TV station, although you were an engineer, so you had a lot of learning to do on that too, didn't you?
And I didn't learn very well either. Fortunately, I was able to have good people around me.
Well, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, once an engineer, always an engineer.
Yeah, but it's funny. People classify those engineers who are pretty, right brain, pretty, they're not like you. And you have this wide range of ideals, from the cultural to friends to being so outgoing, and also, of course, to being so generous. And then always being an engineer, because when there's a problem, it seems that you put your engineer hat on and then you figure it out.
Right. Well, I wanted to make the community attractive to bright, talented people. Because I had initially, when I moved the company down, I had great difficulty in finding engineers there were none here to speak of, and there was some difficulty in getting them down here, because I used to hear that old cliche, it's a cultural desert. Well, of course it wasn't, but that's why I started the Cultural Council, so we could publish a cultural calendar that pointed out what was going on, and then we needed to move further, and that's what led to the Kravis Center.
One thing that I do want to ask you, because of your input in so many cultural things, why haven't we been able to keep an orchestra, South Florida orchestra, going? Doesn't it make sense? I know it started and then it failed. What's the problem with that?
I think part of the problem is that even right now, the Kravis Center, we've tried having concerts all year long, but when the summer comes, it just seems that people don't really have an interest in it. So now, if you look at the Kravis calendar, it's pretty much October to late April, early May, and it's a little difficult to keep orchestras, 60 or 70 people fully employed if they're only going to be operational, 7 or 8 months of the year. So I think that probably has a good deal to do with it, but I must confess that's kind of a guess on my part.
Well, because we have a lot in Miami now, so much culture in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and it just seems, I guess...
They also have, I think, a critical mass that I think that they sometimes travel as well, that we haven't quite been able to put together. And we did have a very nice orchestra, which was both Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach.
I know.
And I'm not the expert as to why that hasn't continued.
Right. It needs another Alex Dreyfoos or something, so you may want to take that on. But anyway, the point is that I think we do need to have something. I always said if I had a lot of money, that's the one thing I would do, because I believe in this so much. But maybe in the long run, as the population increases, and some people just think they have to do that. But let's get back to your ship, because that's very, very exciting. I really did take the time, being someone that does tend to get seasick. So other than boning, I took the time to read about how you adjusted your ship so that Renati would not be seasick. I thought I don't know if another man would do that for his wife, for the love of his life.
Well, you either have to give up the wife or the boat. Might as well solve the problem.
But only someone like you, who really spent a lot of time, energy, and money to be able to make that happen. It's amazing. I'll bet there's no other story like that in the world.
Well, I think it had a lot to do, again, with that cross-training and my science background. The early experience of a boat called a SWAF design, which stands for Small Waterplane Area Twin Hull, it depends upon very thin struts to provide the stability that it has. And unfortunately, back in the 30s or 40s, when they finally understood how what was needed to do that, they built some boats where the struts weren't strong enough, and they failed, and the boats, became catastrophic. And so that kind of took the interest away in that technology. But it turns out that Boeing, in designing the 700 series, the 707, 747, all their airplanes, did a major computer study to be able to make the wings of airplanes extremely strong and flexible and obviously not break. And they came up with a computer program called finite element analysis, which is what does that. And Abiking and Rasmussen, who built our boat for us, sorted that out and said, we can make a strong strut that will provide all we need, and it's not going to fail because of this finite element analysis way of analyzing it. And I would confess that as an engineer, I understood that math and analysis, and I said, I'm willing to take that risk that the boat is not going to, be fragile or anything. And so I was sort of the first person willing to do that, and they were most anxious to have somebody build the first one, and I couldn't afford what they really wanted to charge, but they were so anxious to have one out there. I was able to, we made it work, let's put it that way. They came down in dollars, and I came up in dollars, and we built a beautiful boat.
And so she's okay. She doesn't have to take any medication. She's fine.
If anybody has ever been sick on Silver Cloud, they've never admitted it.
Oh, okay.
And I can attest that Renate's never been sick on it.
Okay. Well, you did it.
It is really wonderful.
You really did it.
I won't burden you with an explanation, but unless you want.
No, I read it. I read about the waves and how you. No, I really was very interested in it. In your book now, and the pictures are so glorious. Do you still do scuba diving?
I definitely do. I love it. In fact, about 2 years ago, I took up what's called rebreather scuba diving, and that's where, as you know, a regular diver, he inhales air from the tank on his back, and then when he exhales it, you see those bubbles coming up. Rebreather diving, that air that you exhale goes into your backpack and goes through a canister which absorbs the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, and then a neat little device measures the oxygen content, and you carry a second tank with you. It's just oxygen, and it adds that oxygen back. And then you rebreathe this air. So in other words, you basically have regular air that you've depleted the oxygen from, and then you add the oxygen back, and you can just keep rebreathing the air. And the beauty of that is that you can dive for as long as 2 hours.
My goodness.
On a pack that's not much bigger than a normal tank, which may last a half hour. You can go down to 199 feet, although I don't see much of beauty down that far. And the other thing is that the system takes note of how deep you are and actually enriches the oxygen as you go deeper, so that the likelihood of you ending up with the bends or anything is significantly reduced.
Well,
but
Alex,
all of that is wonderful.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Part is,
go ahead, because we've run out of time, but I hate not to hear it.
The nicest part is, because you're not breathing out air bubbles, the fish treat you totally differently. You're like a turtle just swimming quietly along, and they're in your face. You don't scare them in any way, and it changes your whole underwater experience. It makes it delightful.
Alex, it's always wonderful talking to you. It's funny, the 30 minutes go so fast with you. Thank you. Have a great holiday down there, birthday, and I appreciate you so much. Alex Dreyfoos, Passion and Purpose. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Anita, and best of luck.
All right, bye.